Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jonathan Wright. I am the Trek Coordinator for the Grenada and the Goodman campus. I am here today to speak to you about setting SMART goals. I know you're probably like, what is that? But before I start, I'd like to give a little background information about who I am, what I do, and how I got started. But before I do that, because it's 9:25 in the morning, I typically like to ask students, do you have a theme song? What's your theme song? Yes, I know it well. Does anyone else have a theme song? Does anyone know the important, the reason I ask this is just a sidebar, but the reason I ask this question is, I think students as well as professionals need to have a theme song. I think everyone needs to have a theme song. For those of you that are looking around like, what is this guy talking about? A theme song. I know for me, I have slow mornings. I kind of drag and I kind of have a hard time trying to get my blood percolating and get going. But when I play my theme song in the morning, it kind of lifts me up, kind of gets me going, kind of gets me in a good place. And even during the day, some of you have hard days. I know I have hard days. And listening to that theme song, even in the course of the day, between a class or on a break, will kind of put you back in that good place so that you can, have a good rest of the day. So I kind of like to start the conversation out by asking students, do you have a theme song? If you don't, get you a theme song. Listen to it every day. Change your theme song if you need to, but find that way to motivate yourself to get your day going, but also find a little extra kick when you have those days, long days or slow days or even hard days. So with that being said, I just want to get that part out of the way. Again, my name is Jonathan Wright. I am the Trek Coordinator. And there are a few things that I want to talk to you about before we dive into the workshop/presentation this morning. I wanted to tell you about how many of you are familiar with the word Trek. I wanted to tell you about what that word really means. Does anyone know or have any idea of the definition of Trek? T-R-E-K. It's actually a word. It's not an acronym. That word means a long, difficult journey or a long, arduous journey. I know that many of you in this room today can attest that life as well as college has not been as smooth as we would like. It's been full of ups and downs, twists and turns. The Trek Center is designed to help you guys with that long, difficult journey. I am not an advisor. I am not a counselor. You guys have great advisors. You have great counselors. You even have great instructors that will help you in terms of plotting your course while you're here at Holmes Community College and beyond. What I am is an academic and career coach. Okay? I'm a coach. On the academic side, I give you guys some services that can help you along your academic journey to kind of make that ride a little smoother. How many of you had a personality assessment before? Good, a few people, that's awesome. For those of you that have not, a personality assessment gives you an idea of who you really are, kind of like looking in the mirror. Tells you about some of the things that you have, characteristics that you probably have just taken for granted or probably that you weren't even aware of. And it tells you a little bit more about them. More importantly than that, it tells you some strengths and weaknesses associated with your personality. But what I really get out of it that helps you, it tells you what careers match your personality. We have found that if a student chooses a career pathway that matches their personality, their interests, and their values, they're more likely to stay on that career pathway. You know as well as some of your friends, maybe even you, have probably changed majors. Oh, I want to do this, and then you get into that, and it's not exactly what you thought. It may be a little bit more rigorous than you thought, and you change. Or some of us choose a pre-allied health program with the hopes of getting into another program. And if that doesn't pan out, they ultimately change their major. So what we try to do is give a student pinpoint information that can help them decide which career pathway best fits them, okay? I want to ask this question. How many of you had a learning styles assessment? How many of you know your learning style? Oh, that's awesome. The value of that is knowing your learning style helps you in terms of preparation for studying for your classes, which again kind of eases that ride while you are in college. But we offer learning styles assessments, and I give you tips and strategy based on your learning style to kind of help you. Okay? And I also do workshops like what we're doing today in terms of helping you guys set SMART goals. So that's kind of in a sum what I do on the academic side. On the career coaching side, I'll help you with your resume, I'll help you with job search, I'll help you with your professional development. What I'm basically doing is helping you to improve your brand. And that leads me to the next word I wanted to ask you about. How many of you guys are familiar with the word branding? It's cool. For example, what is Nike's slogan? Right. What is McDonald's slogan? I'm loving it, right? Typically, when we think of branding, we think of some type of company or business that is using some type of marketing strategy to suck us in, to get us to buy their products or to use their services. I'll take it and unpack that a little bit more so you guys can kind of relate to it. How many of you guys are familiar with the Olympic athlete who was in trouble this recent Olympics in Rio, the swimmer, Ryan Lochte? Kind of got in some trouble, kind of, didn't necessarily tell the whole truth. But and you notice that they say it hurted his brand. He lost some endorsements behind those things. I'll take it a step further because today is the day of the first game of the NFL. It starts tonight. I'm sure many of you have heard of the quarterback in San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick, who's taken his stance in kneeling or sitting for the national anthem. A lot of people say that is hurting his image or his brand, right? I am here to tell you today that you guys are in charge of your own brand. You are a brand. You are your own brand, and you are in charge of enhancing, promoting, improving your brand. Why is that so important? Show of hands. How many of you have aspirations of when you are done with college, whether it's here at Holmes or at another college, have an opportunity or want to go into the workforce, right? Get a job, get a good job. Do you want to get a job? Do you want to get a job? Just curious. And the reason I ask that question is, each of you are going to be sitting in front of an employer. You're going to be asked to sell yourself. What do you bring to the table? What attributes do you have? How can you be an asset to this company? And you're going to be tasked with trying to sell yourself, right? So the only way that you can do that is by doing things to enhance your brand along the way. You're not going to just go to class, get a degree, and sit in front of the interviewer and say, well, I got my degree. I should be good to go, right? No, you're going to have to do more. You're going to have to add value to your brand. And that's kind of like some of the things that I help students do, okay? Now, the next thing I want to ask you guys about, how many of you are familiar with the word accreditation? Can you give me an example of that? Or what it is?
My school that I went to used to have to go through a yearly accreditation.
Do you know the meaning of that? That process though? And that's fine. That's fine. Listen, the last two words that I want to share with you guys real quickly and talk to you about are words that you guys definitely should know, okay? Accreditation is so important because it gives your class, it gives the school, it gives the degree that you have credibility. Without accreditation, you would not be able to transfer this class to another school. If we were not accredited, you would not be able to receive federal financial aid. If we were not accredited, your degree would have little to no value. You would not be able to use that. So as you go forward, here at Holmes Community College, we are accredited by SAC-COC. All 15 community colleges in Mississippi are accredited by SAC-COC. All 8 colleges and universities are accredited by SAC-COC. That is a regional accrediting body, okay? For the most part, all of your brick and mortar schools, all schools you can think of around the nation, for the most part, they are regionally accredited, which gives them that legitimacy, okay? Now, contrary to that, there are some schools like an ITT, a Virginia College, an Antonelli, those kinds of Strayer, those kinds of schools are probably good schools and probably have wonderful students, but those schools hold a national accreditation. I don't know if you've experienced it, but you probably know someone that's gone to one of those schools. They've had a difficult time trying to transfer those credit hours to a school like ours, a regionally accredited school. So that's why accreditation is so important. I'll also share with you this, just in the news today, well this week, there was one of those schools that we talked about, an ITT. They closed their doors for good. in large part because of funding, because of they were not having the right outcomes. They were using or accepting federal financial aid, and students were not getting jobs as a result of it. And students were left in a lot of debt. So as a result of that, they lost their accreditation, which ultimately ended up them losing or shutting their doors, okay? So that's why accreditation is so important. As you move to a new program, whether that program is a healthcare program, a business program, you want to make sure that that program and that school are accredited. Okay, I am happy to say that we are accredited. SAC-CO's, we got our accreditation reaffirmed or quote unquote reapproved for another 10 years. So they did that last fall and we were able to come away with flying colors. We did very, very well. But I will share this with you. SAC-COC asked that a school, when they come back to do that, every 10 years, they come back and they do a new check to make sure that everything from the top to the bottom is working just as well as it was when they gave you the stamp of approval 10 years ago to say that you are accredited. But when they come back to check you, they ask that you create something new, something different, and provide a service that can be tracked for 5 years to measure your success. Well, we polled students, faculty, and staff to see what exactly it was that they wanted to come up with. And what they decided was to have a center of some sort, which we call our Trek Center, and they wanted to have a class. I was a part of a team that helped design an online 4-week class, and then we needed to find who could we best serve? What group of students could we really serve to make an impact or a difference that we could track over a 5-year period? How many of you in the room are receiving federal financial aid? Almost everyone. Overwhelmingly everyone. How are you? Finance? Oh, that's still an aid, financial aid. It's a state aid, but it's still considered aid, right? Okay, you guys are the students that we decided to track. You guys are the students that we decided to help in terms of needing that extra push. Some students needed that extra push, and I'll go a little bit deeper in that as we go along. That takes me to my last word that I'm going to talk to you about before we get on to what I'm really here for. How many of you have heard of SAP, or Satisfactory Academic Progress? For you young people that are receiving federal financial aid, that is perhaps the most important word that you should know. That is the most important policy that you guys should know. Satisfactory academic progress. That means if you are an incoming freshman, 0 to 30 hours, you are required to pass a minimum of 50% of your classes. Once you reach above 31 credit hours, you are expected to pass 67% of your classes. Failure to do that results in you not maintaining satisfactory progress, and you will lose your financial aid. It's huge. If you lose your financial aid, you can file an appeal to have it granted back for 1 semester, but there are stipulations that go along with that. And some of those stipulations are you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA. You can't fail a class, you can't drop a class, but in addition to that, you have to come and see me. You have to come and see me and set up an academic plan, and you also have to take our 4-week online course as well. Things that we put in place based on the polling, based on our QEP, that's what we call that new, different, and unique thing, quality enhancement plan, that gives us an opportunity to kind of track those students. So familiarize yourselves with satisfactory academic progress, familiarize yourselves with accreditation, and make sure that your schools are accredited. Always work to improve your brand. You understand now that you are your brand. You are in charge of marketing yourself, promoting yourself, and enhancing your brand. And hopefully you'll walk out of here today with some tools that will help you do that, okay? And lastly, TREK, T-R-E-K, long, difficult journey. You have the TREK Center. It's located downstairs to your right. Right before you get to Campus Police on the left-hand side, there's your TREK Center. You probably have passed it. You probably have seen some tables in there and computers and never knew, but that is your space. You're able to go in there when you want, study individually if you want, but more important, if you want to have a group session, if you wanted to practice with your speeches or what have you, you have an opportunity and a space to do that. And if you want to if you want me to help you with some of the services that I provide, I am more than happy to help you. I'm there to do that. That's why I'm here. So before I dive into why I'm really here, does anyone have any questions about those key terms that I really wanted you guys to familiarize yourselves with? Okay, cool, let's roll. I am here today to talk to you guys about setting SMART goals, okay? Can anyone give me an example of a goal that they have or had? It's okay, we're friends, we're mostly friends, just us. We're gonna have an intimate conversation, okay? Just tell me, I know you got a goal.
The game warden.
Game warden, you got a goal.
Translator.
You wanna be a translator? Awesome, you got a goal.
I will not want a hair salon.
Got a goal, great.
Animator.
Great. Listen, of those four, those are awesome goals, and I'm quite sure the rest of you have goals as well that are pretty good, and I'm sure each of you are going to accomplish your goals. But I'm here today to give you some tools that can really help you get there, okay? Quick show of hands. How many of us have had goals that we have not met? How many of us have goals that we are still working on? Great. What I have found is this. A lot of times we take our long-term goal and our short-term goal and we lump them together, okay? And that creates a problem, and it creates a problem in this way. It puts a goal way over here, and as we talked about, life in school is full of ups and downs, twists and turns, so it makes it seem as though it's taking us longer and longer and longer to get to our goal. We have good intentions, we're gonna get there, but it just seems that because it's over here, and we're trying to get there, right? And a lot of things can happen that can deter us or slow our goals up. And that's the main reason why a lot of us don't finish our goals or fall short of our goals. What I am saying to you today is, let's unpack those goals. And that's why I wanted to come to you today. There were two things that stood out to me of the four goals that I heard today. The first one is that they were broad goals. They were just broad goals. The second one, there was no accountability. That was another reason that I have found that students fall short of their goals, is that there's no accountability. It's just a broad goal with no accountability. You said you wanted to be a game warden, right? Unpack that. How are you going to be a game warden? How are you going to go about doing it? You want to be a think about it for a moment. You want to be a translator. How are you going to unpack it? How are you going to go about doing it? You wanted to
On a hair salon.
hair salon. How are you going to go about that? As an animator, how are you going to get there? This is the first one. Now, SMART goals, they are acronyms. The S. Your goals must be specific. We need to learn to unpack our broad goals. My goal is to be a SMART goal. You could use a SMART goal. A SMART goal, my SMART goal is to be a game warden by set a date. And this is how I plan to do that. Completing the courses on my curriculum, the curriculum that you're under. Studying 4 hours a week. Applying for jobs, at least 3 jobs. Once I have graduated, at least 3 jobs a week or 4 jobs a week. I mean, really begin to unpack that, okay? Be specific. How do you plan to be or own your own hair salon? We have to say, get away from just saying, well, I plan to do this, and we have to be specific with our goal in terms of, my goal is to be a translator by completing the courses on my curriculum in a timely fashion, okay? Studying 4 hours a week if need be, meeting with or putting myself in a interpreters club, or for me, improving my brand, getting in organizations that allow you the opportunity to grow and to do that. Let's unpack it. When we unpack it, 2 things happen. One, your goal is not just broad, it's a specific goal. 2, you have some accountability. You're saying how you're going to go about doing it, and that's accountability. That takes me to the next letter. The next letter that you must have in your SMART goal is M. But the M stands for measurables. You must have measurables. And what I mean by measurables is, when you unpack that goal and you say exactly how you're going to do it, those are your measurables. Those are things that you can look at on your checklist to see if I'm meeting my goal. Because if you're doing the things that you said that you were going to do in order to achieve that goal, you have a way of measuring. You don't need to go talk to an advisor, a counselor, mother or father, or friend. You can look in the mirror, look at the person in the mirror and say, hey, I am falling short on my goals because I have not done the things that I said that I was going to do. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? The next letter that you must have, A, attainable. Your goals must be attainable. Can you walk out of here today and be a game warden?
No.
Can you walk out of here today and be a translator? Can you walk out of here today and own your own salon? Are you prepared right now to be an animator? Our goals that we have, remember when I said at the onset of this, a lot of times we take our short-term goals and our long-term goals and we lump them together. Y'all are sitting in this room, and the 4 goals that were stated, this class, amongst the other classes that you are enrolled in, those are the classes that are leading you on the path of where you want to go, right? You have to complete those classes in order to get to where you want to go, in order to get to the game one job. In order to be an interpreter, you need to pass this class and the classes you're enrolled in, right? Right? So with that being said, let's unpack our long-term goals into short goals so we can attain them, goals that are attainable, goals that are within our reach, our grasp, okay? For example, a SMART goal could be, my SMART goal is to pass public speaking by December 9th by coming to class on time, studying 4 hours a week, prepping for my speeches early enough, contacting my instructor to check my progress quarterly throughout the semester. However you plan to pass this class, say it. Those are your measurables. That's something you can attain. Now let me ask you this, because I know I used to have a fear standing in front of people talking, particularly being recorded, right? You got 5 to 7 minutes. Think about doing it for an hour, right? So with that being said, you guys can do something that you guys can attain. Now, with that being said, when you pass this class with an A, are you going to feel good? Are you going to feel excited? Is that going to give you the motivation to sign up for the next class on your curriculum pathway? When you set your short goal and you attain that short goal, it's breadcrumbs leading up to that long-term goal. So that you're feeling success, you're being motivated to keep going, because by setting that short-term goal, we are going to have struggles and pitfalls throughout the semester. But if my goal is to just pass this class by doing this, and I'm going to work around and work through those pitfalls and things that are going on in my life to kind of derail what I'm really trying to do, I can focus on that alone as opposed to being a game warden or owning because it's like, I want to own my own salon, but I'm so entrenched in all these classes and I've got so much going on that it's taking me longer than I really wanted, because I'm really focused more so on the long term than I am the short term. But if you get this class out of the way, and if you get the other classes out of your way that you are enrolled in, that's giving you that success. And hey, I'm 15 hours away or 15 hours closer to where I want to be. Does that make sense to you? So when you're talking about your goals, be specific, unpack them. Don't be afraid to have short-term goals that are attainable and relevant, which is a great segue to the next word, and relevant to your long-term goal. That leads me to the R. Are your goals relevant to what you really want to do? A lot of times we find ourselves pulling ourselves in this way and this way. You want to own your own salon, but then you may have another goal that's, well, I want to do business, or I want to do this X, Y, Z in order to do that. We find ourselves pulling ourselves in different directions. But if we keep our goals short, attainable, and relevant to our long-term goal, we're getting there. The question I ask all the time, how do you eat an elephant? Piece at a time. It's the same way with your goals. A class at a time, a semester at a time. One of your other goals should be, aside from the goal to pass this class, is your goal for all of your classes should be by the end of this semester. My SMART goal is for the classes that I am enrolled in, 18 hours that I am enrolled in for this semester, I want to pass them and have a 3.5 cumulative GPA by the end of the semester. And this is how I plan to do that, okay? And lastly, your goals must be timely. None of the 4 goals that I heard, none of them had a time frame on them. By when did you want to be a game warden? By when did you want to be an interpreter? By when did you want to own your own salon? By when did you want to be an animator? Remember what I said? Goals were broad, but there was no accountability. When you start to unpack your goals, and you have those measurables that's going to hold you accountable, and you set a time frame to it, then you know you have something that you're working towards. But if you just say that I want to do this, well, it could be 10 years from now. It could be 15 years from now. And surely you guys want to accomplish your goals well before that time frame, right? You want to be deep in your career working on retirement by then, right? Or a second career. So we must put a time limit or a timetable, a time frame on our goals, what it is that we want to do. So that way you're able to set that short-term goal, you're able to set something that you can attain, it's relevant to your long-term goal and where you're trying to go, and you set a timetable on it. So if you're saying that I plan to be a game warden by 2017 or 18, you can actually track and see, this is how I plan to do that. I'm going to have these classes completed by this date with this GPA, and I'm going to move forward with that. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about SMART goals? I'm not done. This is a good opportunity to take a break. Does anyone feel a couple questions? Does everyone grasp the concept of what I mean? So that when you're talking about your goals, the purpose of this is this. If you just rethink your goals, then this portion of the workshop did you well. If you're just able to rethink, instead of just saying, I'm going to be this, rethink it and really think about how you're going to go about doing it and what kind of time frame you're going to do it in. That will help you reach your goals faster, but more importantly, it will keep you accountable to that, okay? That leads me to my next question. Does anyone know, or can anyone share with me an idea of what is meant by the word capital? This word. Let me erase some stuff. I'll let you guys ponder on that for a moment. Capital. Capital. Anyone take a stab at it? Webster's Dictionary defines capital as money or some other asset that is of worth or value. Okay? Capital. Familiarize yourself with capital. What I'm going to propose to you today is, if you guys gain capital equally in these 4 areas, you will be successful no matter where you are in life. I'll say that again. If you guys gain capital in each of the 4 areas that I'm about to discuss with you, you will be successful no matter where you are in life. The first area that you need to gain capital in, there is no specific order, but you just need to gain capital equally. It's academic, economic, social, and cultural. Does anyone know what I mean by academic capital? Ma'am? Correct. When you guys graduated from high school, or you got your high school equivalency, that was your first deposit into your academic capital bank, okay? With each class that you pass, with each class that you take, you are gaining to your academic capital. You are adding to your academic capital, okay? I shared with you a moment ago about getting a 3.5 GPA. Does anyone understand what I mean, the benefits or what happens when you get that 3.5 cumulative GPA? Yes, ma'am.
You're eligible from Phi Theta Kappa.
Exactly. Has everyone heard of Phi Theta Kappa? If you haven't, familiarize yourselves with that, great. Because that allows you the opportunity to get a scholarship when you leave here. You are, as a member of Phi Theta Kappa with a 3.0 GPA, you're able to go to schools like Delta State for free, or a large percentage of your tuition at another school will be paid for. You're taking academic capital and you're translating it to economic capital. Do you see that? Is that also not improving your brand? Do you see the connection on the dots starting to connect now from what I was saying earlier? Now let me share this with you guys that are receiving federal financial aid and summers, because this is huge, okay? There are a lot of students that come to college that have had the opportunity to have college prep courses at another high school or participate in some type of college readiness program over the summer. So they come into college with a large wealth in their academic capital bank, large deposits already there. A lot of students are not afforded the opportunity to have those same resources, right? They're still able to come to college, but they're coming to college based on their financial, the economic, the Pell Grant, right? Right? How do you begin to close the gap on those students that came into college with that large academic capital in their bank versus you that's coming into college with deposits in your academic capital, but you're coming in with strong economic capital because you got your financial aid. Financial aid is economic capital. Financial aid, that economic capital allows you the opportunity to come to school, right? Sumner's is economic capital. It allows you the opportunity to come to school, right? To finance your education. As I shared with you in the beginning, if you're doing what you are supposed to be doing, maintaining SAP, passing 67% of your classes, right? You're able to keep your financial aid, right? And while you're keeping your financial aid, you're steady adding to your academic capital, right? Because you're passing classes and stuff, right? So that's how you begin to close that gap on those students. But one of the problems that we have found, that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing in terms of helping students on financial aid that have lost it, is that a lot of those students, they fall short because they don't do what they're supposed to do. There are requirements that go along with receiving federal financial aid, okay? Sumner's as well. It's just not free money. Now, I went to school years and years ago. Most of you weren't even born. But I went years ago. And we had the opportunity to just go to school, get free aid, get loans, drop out, go to school with no recourse. But it's changed now. Are you guys aware that when you enrolled this semester, there was an initiative that you needed to enroll in 15 hours minimum? Did anyone even notice that? Did anyone even notice why? Ask why? Let me share it with you in case you did not know. There is a state initiative that students are not completing college in a reasonable time frame, okay? At a community college, you're supposed to be here 2 years, right? Students are actually finishing in 4. At the 4-year college level, you're supposed to finish at 4. That's why they call it 4-year college, right? Students are finishing in 6. You see that time to completion? So if you're thinking that your financial aid is going to cover you throughout your college, here and beyond, you need to kind of rethink that strategy. And the reason that I share that with you is that the federal government is constantly cutting into education funding, constantly. And a large part of that, like an ITT that recently closed, they received over, I want you to think about this for a moment, let's sit there for a moment. There were over 40,000 students that have attended ITT. ITT collected $500 million, $500 million, which is $500 million over that time frame in financial aid. Pell Grant student loans, $500 million. And then they close, and a lot of those students don't have anything to show for it. Government can't get that money back. So that's why they're tightening up the grips. That's why they're doing different strategies and things to, again, help students get out of school quicker, okay? So that's why it's important for you to add to your economic capital so that you do have alternatives to pay for college, so that you can reach your goals, so that you can get that salon, you can become an animator. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Next one. You gotta gain equally in these areas. And what I mean equally, you gotta make equal deposits in each area. Does anyone know what I mean by social capital?
Connections.
Great. How many of you in the classroom actually talk to each other? Social capital is so huge because when you get into the real world, you're going to be working with people from different backgrounds, ages, colors, ethnicities, the whole shebang. You're going to be engulfed with that. You're going to have to. So there's no better place than in college to start to hone in on your social capital. Networking and talking, building relationships. There are a lot of successful students at Holmes Community College. These are your future business leaders, hiring managers. You guys have an opportunity to build relationships, network. You may very well find someone else that's in love and animation as much as you, and you guys may partner in something. You may find someone that, hey, I want to do a salon as well, and partner with them. Or someone that's already doing it that can change. These are some of the pitfalls that I had along the way. Social capital is so huge. One of the biggest problems that I found at, particularly at a commuter school, this is a commuter campus, is that it's drive-through. Students come to class and they leave. They rarely dialogue with each other, and that's huge, okay? You gotta add value to your social capital, okay? And lastly, cultural capital. Can anyone tell me what I mean by cultural capital? Fix that in?
It's like, it's going some social capital, except you do someone's like different points of view in culture.
Let me share it with you this way.
Different ethnics,
Hmm?
different ethnics, different ethnic backgrounds.
That's cultural, and both of you guys are right, but in the sense of gaining cultural capital, I'm going to share this word with you. I'll throw this word out, particularly at 9 something in the morning. Are you guys acquiescing to college? Are you adjusting to college? Lastly, are you buying in? Listen, when you get out of here and you get into the real world, those people that are successful and have long careers, those are people that buy into the company structure, the culture of the company, the culture of the workplace. And the same could be said here in college. As a college student, you know what you're supposed to be doing, right? But oftentimes we don't do it. We know we're supposed to come to class. We know we should be engaging. We know as a good college student we should be involved in student organizations and community involvement. We know these things, but for whatever reason, we don't do as much of it as we should. So we're lacking in terms of that cultural capital. When you truly buy in as a college student, you're enhancing your cultural capital. You're building your network. You're building your relationships. That's what I mean by gaining cultural capital. Buying into college, all aspects of college. You guys see on billboards and in newspaper, all these college students that may be doing this or going there. Those students bought into the cultural college. It wasn't just a drive-through thing for them. Come to class, leave. I'm working on them, getting good grades, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but you're not really buying in completely. You're not adding value all the way around in all areas that will improve your brand. I'll share this with you. I've had 20 plus years in higher education, worked in career services most of that time. And in speaking with employers, an employer would rather have a student that has a 2.5 GPA and has participated in some type of student organization or community involvement over a person that has a 4.0 GPA and has not participated in any of that. I ask you, who is the more well-rounded student?
Person with the 2.5.
The person with the 2.5. Employers want to know that you're able to critically think, that you have social skills, that you have things that you have completed. And if you set SMART goals, and if you add capital in each of these areas equally, you will be able to do that and sell yourself. This is how you begin to sell yourself. And before I leave, the last thing I want to ask you guys about, discuss with you, how many of you are familiar with the law of 33%? The law of 33%. 33% of your time should be spent with people younger than you. I'll say that again. 33% of your time should be spent with people younger than you. Why is that so important? You know that you're adding capital in each of these areas, right? And there are a lot of people, young people in particular, maybe in your family, maybe in your community, that don't see college in their future. I share with you about those students that come to college with a large academic capital deposits in their bank. Because those students more than likely had someone in their family that went to college, okay? So they're able to talk to someone about that. They're able to see college in their life, but a lot of people don't. So when you spend time mentoring people younger than you, you're giving them life, you're giving them hope, you're giving them something that's tangible they can taste, see, feel. College then becomes real to them. So it helps you as well. So you need to spend 33% of your time with people younger than you for those reasons. You need to spend 33% of your time with people of your own age for reasons that you discussed. Networking, relationship building. I remember as a young man coming up, people would tell me, it's not what you know, but who you know. As an older man now, I debunk that theory. It's about, are you a relationship builder or are you a relationship killer? People who seem to get ahead, it's not because they get ahead because they know someone. Unpack that. They're getting ahead because they build a relationship with someone. And you guys are at the age now to start building relationships, nurturing relationships, long-lasting relationships that will transcend past college so that when you are in that employability mode, finished and ready to look for work, you have a network that you can draw from. That's why it's so important that you guys talk amongst yourselves. And lastly, 33% of your time should be spent with people older than you. 33% of your time should be spent with people older than you. Why? Those people have wisdom that they can impart on you. They've been through things. The struggles and pitfalls that you have a voice that you have a sounding board that you can go to for advice. So that's why if you follow the law of 33%, if you gain capital equally in each of those 4 areas, they will help you set SMART goals. And those SMART goals will help you get to where you want to go faster in a timely manner. And you will be successful no matter where you are in life. And I'll leave you with this. In Africa, every day, I say again, in Africa, every day, a lion wakes up knowing it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve. In Africa, every day, a gazelle wakes up knowing it must outrun the fastest lion or it will die. It makes no difference whether you are a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you had better be running. Thank you guys so much. I'll take any questions that you have now.